Today on the show here we have Barbra Gilman. She's an NSA member, which is the National Speakers Association. She's an expert on change, writer, author. She's here to share her experience. Thank you, Barbra. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So who is Barbra Gilman? I know you have a lot to say on this topic of who you are. Please share with us.
Okay.
And also, let me add, how do you work with businesses too, to tag on to that?
Okay. Well, in the business world, it's usually segmented. You know, when I come to a person who wants to hire me to do any kind of work with the team building or with a specific executive or whatever, it's like in their mind, how can I get this person to be more creative or to show up in a bigger way? And the way that I look at business is it's no different than life and living.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses would like to think that their people can come into work and leave all of their issues at the door. Their father just died, they're getting divorced, their child is whatever. It's impossible. It's impossible to even think that they're going to do that. So the first way that when I come into a business and I work with it is to have the people who hired me get that. You have human beings who are coming here and they have issues in their life. So the first step is, what would it take to give them some cutting edge, amazing, pragmatic tools that will change all that? Now you have people coming in who are less stressed and more open to the possibilities and creativity and the change that the business requires. Once we get them to that level, then we can start looking at the business as, okay, this is a business, and what are you going to be and do different for the business?
Right. Gotcha. So you're a writer, keynote speaker, teacher, trainer. You're ahead of your time as far as we know. You talked about The Secret, the law of attraction. You told me you were ahead of the game when it came to that. Can you kind of share the story and how that worked out?
Sure. Well, as I said, I came, it's like I always say, people come in to be who they are or will be. As a child, I was absolutely the same person I am now. I was being the therapist to not only my own friends, but my brother, who was almost 12 years older than I, and they would come, they would talk with me, and their life somehow would change. Now, I didn't understand it, but it occurred. So my point is, I've really been doing what I've been doing all my life, and it's just in the last 8 years, I've taken about every kind of course having to do with change, psychology, energy, consciousness in over 30 years. And about 8 years ago, I found a body of work that is absolutely amazing. It's really the cutting edge tools for change on the planet. And so that's my joy right now, is facilitating that work.
Yeah, so kind of go into details about that, because energy and consciousness seems to be your main focus and theme.
Yes.
So kind of go in details on those two,
well,
two ideas.
It's a little challenging because most people don't really know what that means. Like, I have a lot of people who'll say to me, Barbra, what does that mean? I thought if our eyes are open, we're conscious. Okay, that's like in a different department.
Right.
Consciousness is actually living in total allowance of whatever's going on in your life and having no judgment, which means that you show up in the moment and you make your choices from the moment, not from the past, not from when this happened at a different date. Okay, so it's like, oh, I remember when my mother said that to me or did this. And then you take on that energy, and for the rest of your life, you're pretty much always coming from the result that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. Okay, and that's what sticks people. And when you work with a therapist or a coach who's working cognitively, and not that there's anything wrong about that, it's just different. So this body of work is for people, as I always say, I'm from New York, which I think you could tell.
Right. The accent
gives it away. If I want to go home to New York, I could take a bike, I could walk, I could take a bus, I want the fastest jet plane. Okay, now that's me. Some people are going to want to drive or take a bus, and it's not a wrongness, it's just a different. So the body of work that I facilitate right now, which is called Access Consciousness, it's taught in 174 countries, we're the slowest in the United States,
Right.
are tools that are literally cutting edge.
Right.
And
Well, I want to stop you because you said that before you were talking about the illustration between like the car and the riding the bike and also
Right.
the plane.
Right.
I think your emphasis is that you're the quick change artist, right? Because the difference is the quickness of the effect.
Absolutely. And actually, it was my daughter who came up with that term many years ago when I actually was a designer, and then we added on shift your energy and change your life.
Right.
And it's I have no words to even describe the possibility of how quick it is to get out of anything, okay, that you have been stuck in for your whole life.
Right.
And that's what occurs when you work with energy. Because, and you say, you know, you had asked me, well, when you say energy, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah. So basically, if you are working with a coach or you're a regular person or you're working with a therapist, you know beliefs and points of view. So the therapist or the coach might say, okay, so what is your belief about this? And we have to change this belief. And you're going to work with them and you're going to you'll have little techniques and you'll have things to write and go back into your past, but you're doing it cognitively. So it's going to change slowly if it changes. And if it changes, it might come back. When you work with energy, it just goes. When you're ready to let it go, it just goes and it's gone. And it has the possibility of going like in moments. I mean, if you're choosing that.
Right.
So it's for people who really want more, better, greater, or you know what? I'm not willing to carry this anymore. I don't want to live like this. I don't want my business to be run like this. I want to get rid of this stuff that's standing in my way.
Right.
That's the person that this work would be for.
Right. You were telling me before about a lady that had trauma about
Yes.
abuse. Can you kind of
Yes.
share that story with us here?
Well, this was in, so there's a training that I do called the foundation class, and it's a 4-day training, all day for 4 days. You could actually come to it, lie down on a massage table and sleep, and your whole life can change in a way that it's hard for me to even explain, because even though I've been doing it for 8 years, it's still amazing to me.
Right. Sounds fun.
But this woman in New York was sexually abused by her father from the time she was 4. So clearly you could understand there's this, you know, a beautiful being comes in and then there's this, you know.
Right.
Okay, and she lived with that. And her life just didn't work, her marriage didn't work, whatever. She came to this 4-day class, and I'm not saying this is going to happen to everyone, but this is the possibility. Within the first 2 hours of the class, we got to something that we were talking about. She brought up a question, and then we have something, it's called energetic processing. It's just asking questions, but putting an energy into the pot, I guess you could say. And within a half an hour, the woman just changed.
Wow.
And I perceive energy. I literally saw her morph into a different part of who she was being. So that's what's possible. Will everyone have that in a half an hour? Maybe not, but it is possible, and that's what happens when you work with energy. When you add in the language of consciousness, which is basically, as I said, living in total allowance and giving up your judgment. So you're living in the moment, and you're simply asking, what can I be and do in this moment that is different than what I did before, that could change the situation, can change the business, can change the parenting. It works the same for anything in your life. And it's magic. Then I do telephone coaching all over the world.
Really?
Okay, yes. And so we just have a conversation. I do this, I call it magic, okay? And the person starts changing right there on the phone. I send the teleconference recording to them, and I say, listen to it 1 to 3 times a day. And for most people who do work with me, within a week, they have moved from here to here. Then they go on the next part of their life, and maybe they'll call me, they buy packages. Maybe they'll call me in a month when something is going on. Okay, and now they get to the next level, and it's just this progression because they're letting go of the points of view and the beliefs that were keeping them stuck. However, because we're working with energy, it goes so quickly. And you get excited, and you'd love to show up in this world for who you really be, not the lie that you bought about what's wrong with you and how you don't fit in, and all of this stuff is what we do here. We give ourselves up from the time we're a child. So we actually never get to know the magnificence, the power, and the potency that we are. And this is my greatest gift, and it's the gift of giving it, being it as an invitation for people, but how it changes my life. So if anyone would really like to know what's underneath the lies that they bought about what they're not, so they could actually start finding out who they are, this is the work. This is the play.